Hello everyone. I will be taking you all through the history of the Thunder Warriors and how their downfall paved the path for the Emperor to move forward. The warriors of caged thunder, and with whom lightning smote, they have burned the brightest in glory, but burned brief. The Thunder Warriors, or sometimes called the Thunder Legion and the Thunder Regiment, or those who spoke High Gothic, they were called Legiones Catechus. There were 20 regiments of these genetically engineered superhuman warriors of terror created by the design of the Emperor of Mankind. This was done with alchemic augmentation, somatic gene sculpting, and muscle grafting techniques. These warriors would lead to the creation of the Space Marines later in history. Their purpose was simple, and that was to unite the homeworld of humanity beneath the Emperor's rule during the unification wars on Terra. Each regiment of the Thunder Warriors were commanded by a Primarch. These were Thunder Warriors who had a particular skill, intellect, and mental stability. Each of the regiments was particularly focused on a particular tactical or strategic specialty. This would later be seen perfected by the Astartes. The weapons for these great warriors were at first lasguns, but later on the Thunder Warriors were armed with erratic but large and powerful patterns of what would become the standard bolter. The Thunder Warriors in their time donned Mark I power armor and were developed from the power combat armor worn by the techno-barbarians that plagued Terra near the end of the Age of Strife. The armor for the Thunder Warriors were designed for fighting in terrestrial environment, so it wasn't fully enclosed, with no means to support the wearer in space. The only part of the armor that had any power to it was the upper body. This would be powered by coiled engine cables beneath the armor plating transmitted energy from a power pack on the back. This would greatly increase the user's physical strength. The leg of this mark was not powered, unlike the future marks that would come. They were enclosed in tough padded breeches, though simple steel plates were sometimes used, although uncommon. The best equipped warriors sometimes wore armored greaves and armored boots. However, this ancient suit of power armor was notably noisier than later models. Perhaps this was due to the unpowered legs making stealth operations nearly impossible. The symbol of the Thunder armor gets its name from the thunderbolt and lightning symbol called the Raptor Imperialis that the Emperor used during the unification wars of Terra before he adopted the double eagle dubbed the Imperial Aquila that was used in the Great Crusade. The emblem gave the armor its most common name, the Thunder armor. Thus, early-made armor was produced on a completely local basis, as there was no standard design, and each suit was varied heavily, and the exact designs were often a matter of personal taste. During the turbulent era known as the Age of Strife or Old Night on Terra, the Sol system and nearby star systems that were colonized by humanity during the Age of Technology were effectively cut off from interstellar travel or astropathic communication with each other. This was due to the massive warp storm that swept through the galaxy as the Immaterium was roiled by the millennia-long gestation of the chaos god Slanesh, and the turbulence that marked the decay of the Adari Empire before the fall. During the 5 millennia, it was marked by anarchy, fear, and violence. Old Earth that was once unified was broken down and divided into dozens of warring techno-barbarian nations. Warfare raged across the surface of Terra for 2,500 years. Little remained of the once civilization of Old Earth's former glory, as techno-barbarian warlords and their gene-enhanced warrior hordes continuously fought over the planet, which became little more than a massive battleground for their apocalyptic wars of attrition over the course of the millennia. During this dark time, the Emperor of Mankind would develop the first genetically engineered warriors to serve him in his armies. These proto-Astartes, like the later generation of true Space Marines, were created from genetic engineer techniques, though these were not as efficient as what was used later to create the Space Marines. Nor was the technology involved as advanced or the genetics as entirely willing, for some were captives of the Emperor had taken during the unification wars. The Emperor made these warriors to be faster, stronger, and more powerful than any of the feral barbarian gene-sept warriors that claimed fertility over the various techno-barbarian nation-states of old Earth. These warriors were gene-stoked mechs of unmatched superhuman physical power, gene-programmed resistance to environmental and even psychic attack, a warlike spirit, and the Emperor's own strategic genius. These 20 Thunder regiments were an army unlike any that had come before them, and those powerful tyrants of old Earth had nothing to match them. These genetically enhanced soldiers were created to drag their world back from the anarchy into which it had fallen. It was in this war that the Emperor would reveal himself as the mystery saviour, with his raptor's head and lightning banners, marching proudly before the unstoppable armies of his Thunder warriors. Emerging from the shadows, the Emperor would take a direct and public hand in humanity's future for the first time in history, conquering various warring factions of mankind's homeworld and establishing his direct rule over Terra. The Emperor accepted the death of many innocents that were the result of the conquest with remorse in order to achieve the greater good of unifying humanity and protecting it from the manifest predators of the warp and the more vicious Xenos of the galaxy. During his unification campaign that lasted for a couple of weeks, and in these weeks there were unimaginable large full-scale battles, the body count that would be in the millions, that sundered mountains and split entire continents. Imperial scholars in the future would dismiss these victories, refusing to believe that such clashes of arms could possibly have been fought, but indeed they were. The Imperial Chronicles of the Thunder Warriors tell of their last battle unification war, known as the Battle of Mount Arret, which was fought in the Kingdom of Uritu. During this final battle, the remaining Thunder Warriors were slain to a man. The Chronicles recorded that the famed Thunder Warrior Arak Taranis, known as the Lightning Bearer, raised the banner of lightning at the final declaration of unity, which established the rule of the Emperor of Mankind over the entirety of Terra. Before dying of his wounds, it was measured of the Thunder Warriors' heroic sacrifice that they had all died to win the last and greatest victory for the Emperor. Unfortunately, this heroic version of the tale was completely false, and the Thunder Warriors did not die in the final battle of the Unification Wars. They were brutally killed from existence by the Emperor's own servants on his own commands. The Thunder Warriors had been destroyed by their own creator. The Emperor had the right to be worried about his creations, as a source claimed that even before the end of the Unification War, the Thunder Warriors had at last realized that their creator had cursed them with a short lifespan as a result of their imperfect genetic augmentations, and turned upon him for what they saw as his betrayal. The Emperor sent several hundred custodies that was believed to be led by the legendary figure Constantine Valdor, and accompanied by several thousand prototype Astartes of the First Legion of the newborn Space Marines that stood in the Emperor's defense, carrying out a merciless culling of the obsolete and the rebellious Gene soldiers. Some Thunder Warriors would survive the massacre of their legions. However, the vast majority of those who survived the Unification Wars died at the hands of their own allies, though some or in small groups would survive, living mostly anonymous and miserable, living amongst the population of Terra, all honours of their past forsaken, always fearful of being discovered. Fortunately for these survivors, the Imperium, believing the Thunder Warriors all died, never truly sought to hunt them down, as all efforts were then concentrated on the progress of the Great Crusade. These warriors who were under the banner of the Emperor were slain by him, by their blood paving the path he would walk for the future of humanity. These warriors who lost to time were true warriors. This was the law of the Thunder Warriors from their beginnings to their tragic ends. This has been Crossbone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and goodbye.